I would like to introduce Garrett Broadus from PepsiCo, who will be our next customer tonight.
Testing. Good. My name is Garrett Broadus. I am with PepsiCo. I've been with PepsiCo for 13 years. My current role is a specialist on the learning and development team. We're part of our BIS, which is the Information Services Organization, and we support training agendas mainly related to SAP on a global scale. Before I get started, it's actually funny, I did a little interview session with Helen and ANCILE earlier today, and it occurred to me something that I hadn't actually thought of before. My entire career at PepsiCo, I've actually been involved with uPerform in some or the other. I just didn't know it. I actually started in the accounts payable organization, and I was in that organization when we first went live with SAP. And they said, Garrett, we want you to go do UAT testing. So I went to the testing bank and ran the scripts, and they handed me a piece of paper that said, this is how you perform your actions in accounts payable. And I didn't know it at the time, but that was built with InfoPack. So I was a customer for what our training team had built with, at that time, InfoPack. Later on in my career, as I moved up the ranks, they said, Garrett, we're doing a new rollout of SAP. We want you to go do assembly testing. So as part of that project, they put documents in front of me and said, can you review these? Can you make sure these training materials are okay before we give them to the end user? Turns out again, those were built, I believe this time we were already up to uPerform, so those were built with uPerform. My next role was as an architect for AP while we were doing an Oracle upgrade. So the current team that I'm on now came to us and said, you're upgrading Oracle, we have this program, you can use it to make your training materials, why don't you try it out? And we ended up creating, I think it was around 250 BPPs, which are what we refer to as the work instructions and simulations with uPerform. And then lo and behold, that project ends, and I get a new role, and I end up on the learning and development team. So now I am the administrator and helping to support. So I've pretty much covered the full life cycle with uPerform. So I thought that was interesting. Building value using uPerform, PepsiCo's uPerform journey. I'm not going to try to take too much of your time on a lot of questions today, but I did want to go through kind of how we're using uPerform now, how we're planning on using it in the future. So we're going to cover our uPerform history, how we're using it, and our future plans. So about PepsiCo, this is one slide because, let's be honest, I think most of us know who PepsiCo is. But this is what's interesting to me. I've been with PepsiCo for 13 years. I pulled this slide off of our corporate corner page. These are the 22 brands that did over $1 billion in sales in 2014. Now, some of these, obviously, PepsiCo, Frito-Lay, Mountain Dew, Gatorade, Quaker Oats, usually people recognize those and know that that's part of the PepsiCo family. The ones that even surprised me were 7-Up. We do not sell 7-Up in the US, but overseas, PepsiCo is the bottler and sells right for 7-Up. The other one that jumped out at me was Mirinda. That again is only overseas. And then the little Starbucks lady. We don't own Starbucks, so we'd be an even bigger company if we did. We have a joint partnership with Starbucks where if you've ever had the canned Starbucks drinks or the Frappuccino in the glass bottle, that's our partnership work. So we've got other brands besides this, but those are the big ones. Some other ones I just like to call out that a lot of people don't realize. Sobe, if you drink Sobe, that's part of us. Naked Juice and Stacy's Pia Chips are a few of on our healthy brand side. now I'm making trouble. Let me back up. Legal had me put a disclaimer on the bottom of this that says anything I say up here does not represent the company, so I'm not in trouble for the good for you versus fun for you comment I made before. Okay, so what is our uPerform history with PepsiCo? We started with InfoPack. I wasn't on part of the team at that point. This was, I would want to say, late 2000 time frame. Then we moved to uPerform 4.3. I believe that was closer to 2010. At the end of 2013, when I was part of the team, we did our upgrade to uPerform 4.53, and this has a 5.2X on it because when I built this deck, we wasn't sure what actual version we were going to. We've settled on that. So before the end of the year, PepsiCo will be up on uPerform 5.2.8, and we're really excited about that. So early uses. Obviously, SAP implementation. That's where we first got our foot in the door with the info pack. And that was mainly work instructions and simulations. We still have actually some of the artifacts from that today, to where our templates, we have some templates that are, these are just simulation only, or these are just work instruction only templates. We're now more sophisticated now, and we realize there's other ways to do that, but we still see those today. The next one is very interesting. This is a newer development. This is Global RIS, which is Rapid Implementation Services. It's another SAP type project. And I'm honestly not 100% sure if this is a PepsiCo exclusive. Has anybody heard of RIS here in the room? No? Okay. Well, you're not going to believe me, but what if I told you that you could go to a market and get them up and live on SAP in 3 or 4 months? Crazy, right? We do this. What we do is we select core modules in SAP. FI, MM, proprietary systems, GL. We go to these markets and we give them that same sentence, hey, we can have you up and running on SAP in 3 or 4 months. But there's a catch. You don't get your customizations. So every market has this laundry list of hundreds of things that they want to do, but a lot of those are nice to have. You can go live on the core modules of SAP. We can build your interfaces. We can have you up and running. Later on, you can come back, work those projects, add back in all these customizations. So we've been doing this at least for a couple of years now. We have a project in flight right now in South Africa that should wrap up by the end of the year. And earlier this year, Romania and Brussels both went live with this RIS structure. Now, how does that relate to uPerform? Anybody that's worked on a project knows when you get to start a project, how often is training mentioned in those first weeks? 2 weeks before go live. Training is, unfortunately, the afterthought. It shouldn't be, but it is. They say, what do we need to build? What does it need to look like? And then at the end, oh, by the way, how are people going to use it? So with RIS, we are almost guaranteed to be part of those market go lives, because we know those core modules before we ever go to the market. And we've built, I think our last count, we're up to 36 e-learning courses with hundreds of simulations that are already built. So when you start that conversation of what is this project going to look like, we can raise our hand and say, oh, by the way, we have your training material. All you have to do is take that training material, localize it if English is not the language for your market, and you're done. It's still work, but opposed to, here's the project, now we need training, they're blown away, and we always get our foot in the door that way. And then the last is just the work our learning and development team does, just ad hoc. So training existed before our team. Training existed obviously before we adopted uPerform. So we, throughout the year, look at different teams and different projects and say, you've got your PowerPoints, you've got your Word documents with screenshots. Let us help you take that, turn it into e-learning courses, or at least simulations and work instructions. All right, let's see. Okay, so kind of what do we have now? We've got our server, which is online help and training, and that's where we put all our work instructions, our simulations, and our managed documents. We don't put our e-learning courses into our server. And the reason for that is because well, 2 reasons. One, we recently moved to anonymous access, so I can't track who accesses that course, who takes it. And the other thing is that we do have success factors. So we put e-learning courses into our success factors, assign them out to users, and then assess them at the end. And this is actually a fairly mature and integrated process. If you sign up for SAP Access, at least domestically, we have the roles you requested mapped to our e-learning courses, and we have usually a 90-day clock on that. So you receive an email saying you have this new role in SAP, here's the training you have to take out in success factors, or what we call My Learning, and you have to complete the assessment at the end to certify that you took the training. So all of that is done behind the scenes fairly seamlessly to the end user, but it all uses uPerform. And then local hosting. This is something that we're running into now more as we're getting to the international spaces. There's some challenges with infrastructure and IT availability and things like that in some of the markets where they don't want to go through our server housed in a data center in Richardson. They want to host it locally on a server with better bandwidth they have. So we don't encourage that. You're going to lose the features you give success factors, the tracking and the assessments. But some of our markets are doing that. So as metrics, at our server we have 10 projects, 2,517 UDC files, so that'd be work instructions or simulations. And this was as of 3 weeks ago when I pulled these numbers. 4,446 managed documents. That number used to be a lot smaller. For whatever reason, our Russia market, who went live this year, loves their managed documents, and they've put thousands of them out there. What else? 15,000 page views monthly. We are running Google Analytics. To the bottom left, you can kind of see a heat map. I went ahead and ran that for year to date. It's kind of where our user base is from. You can see, obviously, domestically, United States. So dark blue, that's where we get most of our hits. Russia is coming along in South America, who we have projects that are also building a team. I love Google Analytics. It's really great when we got this. I love the feature that you can zoom down and see each state or each city. So when we went live in April 2014 with Google Analytics. We had 48 states in a couple months. And that became my new goal. Every day I come in and say, did we get all 50? Do we have every state? And sure enough, I think Alaska was the second to last. And then there was Wyoming. And I don't know what it is about Wyoming, but I logged in every day for at least 4 or 5 months, just waiting for Wyoming to register a hit. I was trying to pay somebody to just go to Wyoming and log in. We finally got that, so now I can cross the United States off my list. Now I'm focused on the rest of the world. Anybody here going to Greenland? North Korea? No? If you do have travel coming up, I promise I will give you credentials to log in. I want that hit, because, I'm a collector. The last one is 150 plus e-learning courses, and I'd love to give you an exact number here, but I can't. Like I said before, all our e-learning courses go through success factors. Once they're in success factors, I can't tell you without looking at it what it was built with. So we know from our count and inventory of people we work with that we've got about 150 e-learning courses. But every now and then we're surprised from another group that says, I need help, I've got a course on my learning or success factors. Can you take a look? And we look and it's uPerform course. So 150 is the best guess we can give you on how many we have out there right now. Global template. I know Helen spoke about the template and the things you can do with it earlier on the 15 by 15. I cannot stress enough how much productivity gains and how much value we got by sitting down as a group and coming up with one template. We had 7 or 8 different groups wanted different things. When we went live with our last upgrade 4.53, we sat down and said we need one template, the global training template. It's not going to be the template just for work instruction, just for simulations, just for courses. It's a template for everything. Sitting down, coming up with the fonts, the colors, the different, what's available, what's not available, common phrases, everything about it is hard work, especially deciding on one. But once you do that, you can sit down, show somebody the tool, let them run through it, and what pops out before they ever do any edits is so much closer to the finished product than what you started with before, that it really is worth your time. It streamlines the experience, and it removes the guesswork. We tell people when they're building, whether it's a course or work instruction, don't touch the fonts. Don't change the size, don't change the color, don't change the font type. We've already picked one that works with PepsiCo style. It looks professional. It's readable on all different types of screens and devices, so just go with that. Removing that out of the equation relieves a lot of stress for our end users. I am horrible at putting together a PowerPoint deck. You guys can see. If I had to pick all the different fonts and colors to make this look professional, I wouldn't do it. I'd go to a team member who's good at that and say, help me. When I build courses in uPerform, I just type what I want to type. I don't worry about what it's going to look like. At the end of the day, I let my template, my skin take care of that. Here's our skin. If you build a uPerform course in PepsiCo, this is the skin that you'll use. We've had conversations to budge a little bit, maybe on the PepsiCo logo, they want to put their project logo, that's fine. Everything else is PepsiCo approved color palette colors, RGB number. We've got our fonts, how we like them, our menu items, which menu buttons appear. The only recent change we've made is we've moved all our hyperlinks to that gold color. It pops a little bit more for us and lets them know that this is something clickable that you should take a look at. I just wanted to show this. So this is the skin we will use for every course, regardless of content. Okay, so that's kind of what we're using it for now. Beginning of the year, our leadership team came to us and said, you have to get more people using uPerform, which is a good problem to have. It means that they see what we're building, they recognize the value, they want us to have more people using it. So they came to us and said, you need to increase usage of the tool by 10% by the end of the year. And when we say increase usage of the tool, that's people who have the client installed and who most likely are authoring documents. So anybody here that's been on a project or got a goal that says, I need 10% more or 50% more, you guys all get 10% or 50% more people added to your team, right? No. Okay, just checking. Because if so, I have a business card, let me know. We weren't getting more resources. We weren't dropping any of the support we did today. We had to grow the tool by 10%. We had to support those new users, and we had to answer any questions or do any training. So that was our challenge. It's also a change in focus. Now, we've used uPerform before on other things. I mentioned that I was on an Oracle project, and I used uPerform to build those documents. But it was always SAP, or if it wasn't SAP, it was on a project that's funded and needs the training material. We want to expand our focus beyond that. Can you use uPerform if you have something you do at your desk in a program that maybe two other people need to see? Yes. It's quick, it's easy. You turn on the recorder, you document the steps. Now you have that for the next person and the person after that. So going after not just projects anymore, but actually looking at everyday uses for uPerform was another one of our focus areas. What are the challenges? Number one, awareness. We've had the tool for years. I used the outputs from the tool for years and never knew where it came from. So we have to let people know this exists, this is how easy it is, this is why you should be using it, and get that out there. Number two, installation. This may not be an issue for you guys. We have the custom skin, we have our templates, and our old process was showing a user how to do the install, and then giving them, it was creating uPerform, but giving them a long list of steps to say, copy these files from this folder to this folder. And the reason you may not have to do this, a lot of our users aren't connected to our server, so they can't just pull down our templates and pull down our skins, so we have to give those to them in their thing. So we can do this with projects. We go there, we meet with them, we show them how to do the install and move the folders over. But if we spread it out to the world, we can't support that, showing everybody how to do those files. So we have to solve for that. And the last one was training. I used to do brown bags before we got all the stuff in place that I'm showing you today. And I would send out and say, bring your lunch, spend an hour with me, I'm going to show you the uPerform tool. In that hour, I could cover the selling of the tool, which is fairly easy once they see it, and I can cover the basics of how to do a recording or how to do a course. You're not going to be an expert on it, but you can leave there and start creating documents. That would not be sustainable if we had to do that 10% year over year, and especially if we wanted to go beyond the 10%. So we had to solve for training. So starting with the awareness, we decided to do an email campaign. We wanted a 4-part campaign, starting with a teaser, just letting them know something's coming, be prepared. Then hit them with more information on what this is, what is coming. Give them more details, and then finally a call to action. Go get this program and go take this training. So I'm going to start with a short little video that we started with. This is the first part of it, the teaser. So this went out to our first identified audience with pretty much no other explanation. It kind of stood alone. So when you guys are ready.
ANCILE uPerform, transforming mere mortals into superheroes of the training realm.
So I'll be candid, I hated that when I first saw it. But once it was explained to me how it hit on everything we wanted to do, it makes sense. It's short, I don't need your attention for long. It sets a theme. We went with a superhero campaign, so everything's kind of branded after that you're going to be the superhero training. It introduces the name, so if I say ANCILE to you later, you should probably understand what I'm talking about when you get that next communication. And it has a little bit in there about this is for training. So we start with that. These are portions of the next set in the campaign. First one is a comic strip. I will read it just in case anybody can. So again, we have Super Sue, and Super Sue says, "Here I am, Super Sue, to the rescue." The gentleman says, "Rescue? What's the emergency?" She says, "I'm going to save you a lot of work while releasing your team from the grips of another one of your bad training presentations." So Mr. John says, "What's wrong with my training?" She says, "It's unengaging, it's old-fashioned, it's boring, it's ugly, it's corny, it's hard to read, it's confusing visuals." He says, okay, I get the point." So Sue then says, "Don't worry, I'll take you from drab to fab at the speed of light with uPerform." So we send this out. We give them more information. That's the what's your superpower, what does uPerform do, how can you use it. Then we follow up in the next communication with the information on, okay, now go take this training, go do this install. So we rolled this out again in a 4-part series. When we initially rolled it out, we did it weekly. We did it by holidays, so we kind of had to space it out more, but I think going forward, we're probably going to do 2 or 3 days between each. So that, hopefully, and it did for us, solved the problem of awareness and wanting them to have it. Now they have to install it. Again, this may be unique to us, but I just want to speak to it real quick. We have a PepsiCo application installer. So think of it as an iTunes, or not iTunes, the App Store, the Google Play, to where we can work with that team, give them the program, show them the install procedures, and then they'll package it, and anybody in the US can go out there and say, okay, install. So we did that, and we made sure when we did that we packaged the skins, the template, everything else all in one. So they go there, they hit install. When they first launch uPerform, they already have their templates, they already have their skin, they're ready to rock and roll. That only exists in the US market. So the second thing we did was built a separate application installer that packages all those things together where you run it. It's an exe file, and you literally click yes, next, next, and then boom, you have your templates, your skins, and everything else you need to go. We partnered with a vendor on that, and I should have mentioned this before. I'm not an artist, so the graphic you saw before, I didn't do that. We partnered with a vendor on that as well, a media company. They also helped us with this install package. So now, hopefully, you're excited about uPerform. You have the uPerform tool. Now, how do you use it? So, using uPerform, we build uPerform training. So, this is the slide of the table of contents from one of the 4 training classes we built. Course 1, overview of the uPerform tool. We expect everybody to take this that's interested in uPerform. This replaces those brown bags that I was doing where people in the room were explaining to them how great uPerform is and what are the basic things it can do. Everybody will probably take that. Course 2 is how to create a simulation and work instructions. Most users will take this because even users that create e-learning, we encourage them to put simulations and work instructions inside their courses. Course 3, how to create an e-learning course. Not for everybody, but those that want to create the courses would take that one. And the last one is the least used, based on our model, which is publishing on the uPerform server. So you can take one of these, You can take all three, all four. But now that training is there, we included work instructions and lots of resources. So once you complete the training, you have it for a reminder later. So if we've executed all three of these things correctly, you know about the tool, you have the tool on your computer, and you know how to use the tool. Now they're still going to come to us. We encourage them to come to us if they have questions or they run into any issues. But it's a fairly stable platform for them. So we don't have a lot of errors or people coming to us saying this is broken, especially if you're using our template in our skin, because we thought about a lot of stuff and worked that out. And just a quick call out, this is the vendor I mentioned that helped us with the communication and the skin and the installs, Left Ring Media, and they're what they say, a media company. So with that, does anybody have any questions? Microphones are going around, so I guess if you'll hold your hand, and then I'll let them decide who goes first.
Hi, Becky with Costco. I'm just wondering, is this the only tool that you're using to develop training, or are they learning other tools as well?
That's a great question. uPerform is the only tool our team uses. PepsiCo is a huge company, and we work with teams in the past that says, oh look, I've got this training, and then you pull it up and it's something built in another product. We usually help and encourage them to put that into uPerform, and we only train vendors that we work with on uPerform. So there's other tools out there, and obviously there are benefits to other things, but by focusing on uPerform, we can control the quality, how things look, the consistency. So if a group in Panama builds their training, it should look the same as a group in Kentucky. So we're using uPerform exclusively from our team support.
So all of the courses on your LMS that are e-learning courses are on uPerform?
No. So again, everything that we touched that are wrong, that got into the LMS, was built with uPerform. For example, we have our code of conduct training every year, or our cybersecurity training. Those are $1 million training campaigns. And they go out and they hire actors and voice talent and run the whole gamut. Those exist in our success factor space as well. But if a user in PepsiCo that we work with is creating content on their own, it's most likely being done in uPerform.
This may get me down the weeds, Myra from Columbia Sportswear. I was wondering what was your subject line for the initial email that contained the video? How did you drive open rates?
You know, I can look that up later and give you a 100% answer, but I'm pretty sure it was a movie themed because our link to launch was a movie poster, like a trailer. So I believe it was coming soon, something of that nature.
Do you use your installation package in order to do your template updates and upgrades?
Great question. We don't want to change our template as much as we can, just because every time it does require a new install, especially if they're not connected to the server. But we did make changes to our templates about 2 or 3 months ago. We actually, it was part of template parts again. We recognized we had a compatibility issue with IE11 on just one small piece. It was basically pop-ups and courses didn't have their title bar or X button. We wanted to get that update once we got the fix to those files out to the users. So we worked with those teams to repackage and get that ready. So we have no plans to introduce a new template or new skin anytime in the near future. But as things come along that require updates, yes, we'll go back and tweak those packages.
So what version are you on right now?
Good question. So we are currently on 4.53. If you asked me that again in January, I would say 5.2.8.
Okay, and so are you planning on using the installation package to upgrade the clients?
To upgrade the client. Yes and no. So I'm going to have to go back and work with this application team to repackage it all over again. What we did on our last upgrade, and we'll probably do this upgrade, is we're going to email something to all our identified users and say, we have a new version of uPerform. Self-testing to do if it can lay on top of the old version. We're just going to say, go do this. If not, we're going to say uninstall and then upgrade to this version. No problem.
I just have a comment and then a question.
Sure.
Comment number one,
You love it?
Y'all got it going on like Donkey Kong. Okay. And then the question is, when you were tasked to do that 10% adoption, did you have to sell that to departments? Did that have to pay internally, or what would have been any resistance that you would have gotten? Because everybody loves uPerform, right?
Great, and then I forgot to do my own horn. We actually hit our target. We actually got a 45% increase. So it's not the cost that's holding us back. It's not the licenses. It's, do they know that this tool exists? And then kind of the things I work through. Can we get it to them? Can we train them on it? And can we show them really why they should be using it? So no, it's not a cost thing from our perspective. The teams, when I did my brow bags, if I had 30 people in the room, I'd have follow-ups with at least 20 of them after to say, you know, I think I have something I can use that for. So you're right. Once somebody sees what uPerform can do and how quickly you can go from your old screenshots into Word with adding the text to these work instructions in a matter of minutes, no, it's not a hard sell at all.
Yeah, hi, Garrett.
Yes.
So I'm curious about who becomes authors of training content at PepsiCo. Because our experience has been, and continues to be, that business users are the best for developing content. Do you do the same thing?
In the past, no. In the past, with our SFP model, it was the SMEs that were assigned to that project that were the ones creating the training documentation. Now, with our new initiative, yes. If you have the knowledge and you want to create the documentation, you should be using uPerform, you should be doing that. The teams we partnered with to revamp their training or build new training, it was them, the business, that was giving us the information, and then we were providing our instructional design skills and our knowledge of the tool to create what they were looking for. So, I'm not sure if that answered your question. Did I?
No, it did. It's like a partnership, but I was just curious, how many authors do you have?
Another good question. We have, again, this is going to get a little bit weird. We can run scans on our domestic computers to see who has it installed. Last time we ran the scan, we had about 450, which is actually really low when you think about it. We've got plenty of room to grow. Internationally, we've got, I'd probably say in each market, 15 to 20. And when I say each market, Brazil, South America, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, Russia. So maybe that same number overseas, but nowhere near where we want to be. Hello.
All right, on the list of courses you had that the publishing one was really low.
Mm-hmm.
So who's doing the publishing for the people in the business unit that's creating the documents? And is there a secondary review process, or just how they create it from the template? Is that it, or do you know, or the people within your group that do a final check to make sure that they're?
Great question. And this is where I'm going to refer again. There was a disclaimer before that I don't speak for PepsiCo. I also don't speak for my team on this one because I have different ideas about this. When I joined the team, there was a very strict authorship process in place. The only publishing admins were on our team, and the only true admins were on our team. We would get them installed, get them set as authors. They would do the recordings, they would initiate a workflow process, it would be reviewed by at least 2 people, then we would review it and we would publish it. I hated that. When I was on the Oracle project before I joined the team, they came to us with that, and we basically told them no. We want to use uPerform, we don't want to use your workflow process, and we don't want to have all these eyes looking after it. So we built our own content, we did our own quality checks on it, and then we published it ourselves. So I've been advocating that model since I joined the team. Because if you train them right, and you give them, again, a template that has all the features and a skin that has everything, the quality content will be there. There's going to be varying degrees of, this is superstar training documents and this is pretty good, but if we can get out of that picture and let them administer their own documents. But to expand on that a little bit further, even in the notes cases, for example, just 2 weeks ago, our help desk came to us, said we want to use uPerform to build training documents, so when somebody calls up the help desk and says, I have this issue, what do my techs have to do? What screens do they go to? What do they click? So we set them on as authors, and then working with that team, we identified 2 of the users from that team to be admins and publishing admins. So we're still not reviewing their work, they're publishing on their own, but their team is self-filtering through those 2 users. We did spend a little bit more time with to say, you know, this is what you're looking for, this is what you need to do before it gets uploaded to the server.
Quick question, is that?
Yes.
My question is around the, like, how do you track that you had that 40% increment versus the 10%?
We went back and forth on this on metric. So at the end of the day, what metric we would like to track, how many people use the content. Because that's our end goal, is to have people consume the training. Unfortunately, the way we're spread out and all the different sources that they get that training material from, we didn't think we could accurately say whether we hit that goal or not just by looking at end user training. We still do that with our Google Analytics and with our reports out of success factors, but we focus on author workstations. So we started with, this is how many people have uPerform and are using it, and then obviously run the number again and say, this is now how many people have uPerform and are using it.
So what happens at times when users leaves the company and retires or things like that?
They won't pick up on our scan. So our PAI team does a scan of all the computers connected to the network and then returns their username and their uPerform and what version it is even. Once they retire, they're not going to get on that list anymore. So we have had users leave and users obviously join and do the install, but we're just looking at that end number. So we're probably cheating ourselves a little bit, but so works.
And then second question is regarding the template.
Mhm.
You mentioned that you roll out the templates to the users upfront,
Mhm.
standard templates. So if they're getting this installation using the direct installation, when they open up, can the project download the template on their own, or do you need to have it?
Only if they're connected to the server. So that's with
So
our
they're
model.
not connected?
Right. So since
So then how are they publishing on the server?
a lot of them aren't. So the example with the help desk, if we trained the 20 people and they elected 2 publishing admins and server admins, they're forwarding their documents through that person who's connected to the server and checking things in. The other people just have the application. We didn't actually set them up on the server as often. Now we could, again, I'd like to evolve this. I think if you trust people to work for you, you should trust them to be able to make their own content. So I'd like to expand that, but that's not where we are right now.
Will you speak a little bit about the transition between InfoPack into uPerform back in 2010? What happened to your existing InfoPack content? How did you make that uPerform ready?
Unfortunately, I was not part of the team at that time, and I'm not prepared for that answer. The only thing I can speak to is our recent Russia go live had a lot of legacy InfoPack documents, and I watched them just do batch check-ins in mass of those, and they uploaded to the server, but they didn't really go through and do a scrub on those. So unfortunately, I really can't answer that. I saw somebody else. Anybody else? I don't have 50% off Pepsi coupons for you. There's Pepsi outside. Again, I want to thank ANCILE. Oh, do you remember?
Okay, you made the comment that they're not connected to the server, so they channel the publishing and all. What do they check the document into? Are they emailing it to the person to check it into the server?
In a lot of cases, yes.
Okay, so then it's a big file size thing, if it's an e-learning course or...
With courses, it's different. Again, we don't put courses on our server, so
Okay.
they're not emailing those back and forth. We put those into our LMS, the success factors. But yeah, it's simulations, and
So
yeah,
all
right.
like the glossary check and all that stuff is all going to be on the person who's doing the publishing and all that when they check it into the server?
Correct. Now, we have some projects that do use it, but this is just the normal. Cool. Again, I want to thank ANCILE. I've enjoyed meeting those of you that have met. I'd love to meet everybody else this evening on the beach if you're going. And again, thank you for
No, thank you. That's all.